The day I realized I was disposable was the day I stopped crying in front of people. I was standing in a crowded office hallway, holding a file I had worked on for months, when my manager brushed past me like I was invisible. Behind him, laughter followed. Someone whispered my name, not kindly. I felt it then. Sharp and humiliating, like being stripped in public. I was useful when they needed me, ignored when I spoke, and blamed when things went wrong. I came from nothing, they reminded me often. A quiet woman to soft. Too replaceable. I learned to lower my eyes, to apologize even when I was right, to swallow words that burned my throat. At meetings, my ideas were stolen and repeated by louder voices when I protested. Once I was told to be grateful I had a job. That sentence lived in my chest. Grateful, as if dignity was a favor. At home, I replayed every insult, wondering what was wrong with me. My family needed my income, so quitting was not an option. Silence became my survival. I arrived early, left late, and accepted tasks no one wanted. Mistakes made by others landed on my desk. Praise skipped my name. I watched people I trained get promoted above me. They smiled with pity. I smiled back. Each night I promised myself it would get better if I endured. But endurance has a cost. Something inside me was shrinking, folding inward still. I held on because I believed truth mattered. I believed effort would be seen. I believed respect could be earned. I did not know yet that the truth was already waiting, quiet and patient, like a storm gathering strength. The breaking point did not come with shouting or tears. It came with a lie, spoken calmly in a conference room. A project failed when I had warned them about weeks earlier. My emails were ignored then, but now my name was spoken clearly. Blame settled on me like dust. I tried to explain, my voice steady, my hands trembling under the table. My manager cut me off and said I lacked leadership. No one defended me. I saw it in their eyes. Relief. Someone else was paying the price. That evening I stayed late and opened my sent folder. There it was. Proof. Messages. Reports, timelines. I had done everything right. I printed nothing. I said nothing. Not yet. I walked home under street lights, feeling hollow, but strangely awake. For the first time, I stopped asking why they treated me this way. I started asking how they benefited from it. At work I became quieter, observant. I listened more than I spoke. Patterns appeared. Credit traveled upward. Blame traveled down, I noticed. Who changed stories? Who avoided written communication? Who panicked when deadlines approached? They thought my silence meant weakness. It gave me access. They joked around me. Careless with words, I collected facts in my mind. Dates and contradictions at home. I organized everything neatly, like pieces of a puzzle. Fear still visited me at night, but it no longer controlled me. I understood something important. If I spoke without power, I would be crushed. If I waited, I could expose everything. I began documenting quietly, saving copies, backing them up, labeling them carefully. My work did not slow. It improved. I became precise. Impossible to accuse of carelessness. They still treated me like trash, but now I knew the weight of what I carried. The truth was heavy, and they were standing directly beneath it, laughing, unaware. Weeks passed and the atmosphere tightened. Audits were announced. Senior management scheduled reviews. Anxiety spread except around me. I moved calmly, professionally, answering questions with facts. My manager grew restless. He criticized me publicly, perhaps hoping to provoke a mistake. I gave him none inside. My resolve hardened. I was no longer trying to be liked. I was preparing to be undeniable. One afternoon, a colleague I trusted slightly warned me. My name was being discussed again, this time as a possible termination. I thanked her and returned to my desk. My hands shook, but my mind was clear. That night I slept deeply for the first time in months. I knew the moment was coming. During the review meeting, executives asked detailed questions. My manager spoke confidently until he was asked for documentation. He gestured toward me. I stood, heart steady, and said I had prepared a complete record. I did not accuse. I did not raise my voice. I presented timelines. Emails signed, approvals. The room shifted, faces changed. Questions multiplied, contradictions surfaced. Silence fell, heavy and uncomfortable. I watched the truth work without my emotions attached. My manager's explanations tangled. His confidence cracked. I felt no joy. Only relief. This was not revenge fueled by anger. It was justice built with patience. After the meeting, I returned to my desk. No one spoke to me later. I was called into a private office. They asked why I waited. I answered honestly. I needed the truth to be complete. They nodded. I walked out lighter, but not finished. Damage had been done to my name, my confidence, my life. An apology would not erase that. I realized then that justice is not only about exposure. It is about reclaiming what was taken. I was ready for the final step, whatever it required without losing myself. The investigation lasted weeks. During that time, I was treated carefully, almost gently, as if everyone feared breaking me further. I remained professional distant. My manager avoided eye contact. Rumors filled the air, but I stayed focused. When the findings were released, they were clear manipulation, misrepresentation, scapegoating. My record was clean, his was not. He was removed quietly. No dramatic farewell, no speeches, just an empty office. People approached me afterward, some apologizing, others praising my strength. I accepted neither. Their words came too late. Management offered me a promotion framed as recognition. I listened, then declined. The room froze. I explained calmly. That advancement in the same environment would not heal what was broken. I requested a transfer, different department, new leadership, equal pay adjustment. I had leverage now, and I used it with dignity. They agreed, walking out that day. I felt taller, not because I had one, but because I had not compromised myself. In the new department, my work spoke freely. Ideas were credited properly. Respect was normal, not earned through suffering. Still, healing was slow. Some nights old voices returned, telling me I was small. I answered them with facts. I survived. I stood up without screaming. I proved myself without becoming cruel. That mattered. One afternoon, I received an email from my former manager. It was short, apologetic, desperate. I deleted it without replying. Closure does not always require conversation. Sometimes it requires distance. I understood then that empowerment is not loud. It is steady. It is choosing yourself, even when others finally choose you too. As months passed, my story traveled quietly through the company. Women I barely knew began approaching me, sharing their own experiences in hushed tones. I listened. I encouraged. Documentation, patience, self-respect. I did not position myself as a hero. I was simply honest. Leadership noticed the change. Productivity improved. Trust followed. I was invited to help revise internal processes, transparency measures, reporting systems. This time my voice was not questioned. I realized the truth had not only cleared my name, it had shifted the ground beneath us all. At home, my family noticed me smiling again. I spoke more confidently. I slept without dread. The version of me who accepted disrespect felt distant, like an old photograph. One evening, I looked at myself in the mirror and saw strength. Where shame used to live, I had not become ruthless. I had become clear. The company eventually offered me a senior role. This time with sincerity, I accepted on my terms. Fair pay, defined authority, written accountability. They agreed. I did not forget the past. I used it as a guide. When someone tried to speak over a junior colleague in a meeting, I intervened calmly when credit was misplaced. I corrected it immediately. Change is built through daily choices. I carried that responsibility seriously. I understood then that my experience was never just about me. It was about systems that rely on silence, Breaking that silence did not require shouting. It required truth held firmly. I was no longer treated like trash. I was treated like someone who knew her worth because I finally did. Years later, I was invited to speak at a leadership forum. I hesitated before accepting. Public attention had once terrified me, but fear no longer decided for me. On stage, I shared my story simply without names. Without drama, I spoke about silence, about how easily confidence is dismissed when wrapped in quietness. Faces in the audience reflected recognition. Afterward, women lined up to thank me. Men too. Some admitted they had been complicit without realizing it. Accountability, I learned, can be contagious. Back at work, I mentored deliberately, especially those who reminded me of my former self. I taught them to trust their instincts, to document their work, to speak with clarity, not aggression, clarity. My career advanced steadily, but my greatest pride was watching others rise without being broken. First, occasionally, I heard updates about my former manager. His career never recovered fully. Not because of revenge, but because patterns follow those who refuse to change. I felt no satisfaction in that. Only confirmation. Karma is not punishment. It is consequence. The past no longer haunted me. It informed me I had turned pain into structure, injustice into improvement. When challenges arose, I met them directly. I no longer shrank. I expanded carefully, intentionally. The woman who once stood invisible in a hallway now walked openly, unafraid of being seen. I did not need validation. I had evidence, integrity, and self-respect. That combination was unshakable. Looking back, I understand something I could not see. Being treated like trash was never a reflection of my worth. It was a reflection of a system comfortable with using silence. The truth did not save me instantly. It waited until I was ready to carry it without breaking. I learned that strength does not announce itself. It grows quietly, fed by patience and self-belief. When the truth came out, it did more than expose a lie. It revealed who I was becoming. I no longer fear being underestimated. It gives me room to observe, to prepare to choose my moment. Dignity is powerful because it cannot be taken, only surrendered. I refuse to surrender mine. My story is not about revenge. It is about returning to myself, returning to fairness, returning to a voice that was always there, waiting. If you are being treated like you do not matter, remember this silence can be a strategy, but only when paired with truth and intention. You do not need to destroy others to reclaim yourself. You only need to stand firmly when the time comes. The truth always surfaces. When it does, make sure you are strong enough to let it speak for you.